We begin tonight with two pieces of breaking news. A new investigation, this time of the president's inaugural committee, over how it spent the more than $100 million it raised and whether it accepted donations from people looking to gain influence or access to the new administration. We'll have more details on that. But first, the other breaking news tonight, more evidence that shows the president seems incapable of telling the truth about almost any aspect of the hush money payments that just sent his former lawyer to prison. The president said today that he never directed Michael Cohen to do anything wrong. He said a lot of other truth challenge things, which we'll get to. But tonight we now know that 2 months after he began his presidential campaign, Donald Trump was in the room at a meeting with Michael Cohen and David Pecker, the head of the company that owns the National Enquirer, as Pecker offered to help the campaign identify negative stories about his relationships with women, stories that would then be kept from the public. This is from a court document in the immunity deal that the company AMI has reached with prosecutors. One sentence caught our eye when this story first came out yesterday, and I'm quoting, "In or about August 2015, David Pecker, the chairman and chief executive officer of AMI, met with Michael Cohen, an attorney for a presidential candidate, and at least one other member of the campaign." Well, today we learned the one other member of the campaign, according to a source familiar with the matter, was Donald J. Trump, the number one member of said campaign. Now, before this news came out, the president gave an interview where he informed Fox News viewers that everything's fine. He didn't do anything wrong, and even if he did, it wasn't wrong anyway. Here's what he said when he was asked about AMI, Pecker, and the National Enquirer.
I don't think, and I have to go check, I don't think they even paid any money to that tabloid, okay? I don't think we made a payment to that tabloid. I was asking the question, I don't think we made a payment.
That was it, because the president was then off to the races talking about Michael Cohen, who has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for, among other things, covering up what he called the president's dirty deeds. That includes campaign finance violations related to those payments to keep the stories of Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal from getting out right before the election. Now, here's what the president said today about the payments.
Number one, they say it's not a campaign finance violation. Number two, or it's not even under campaign finance. Number two, if it was, it's not even a violation. Number three, it's a civil matter. These are people writing stories that Trump did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong.
Well, number one, they, meaning prosecutors, say it is a campaign violation. Number two, it is under campaign finance, and it is a violation. Number three, it is not a civil matter. It's a criminal matter, a felony criminal matter that implicates the president and for which his former lawyer is going to prison. And given the way the president has tried to trash talk Michael Cohen recently, the question is, why did he hire him as his fixer?
He did very low-level work.
Why did you need him?
He did more public relations than he did law. Whatever he did on his own. He's a lawyer. A lawyer who represents a client is supposed to do the right thing. That's why you pay them a lot of money, et cetera, et cetera. He is a lawyer. He represents a client. I never directed him to do anything incorrect or wrong.
Did you catch the irony there? Because keeping him honest, which is it? Was he just a low-level PR guy, public relations guy, or was he a high-paid lawyer representing Donald Trump and doing lawyer stuff but not taking direction somehow from his client? Again, we now know Donald Trump was in the room with Michael Cohen and David Pecker in 2015 talking about how to keep stories about women from seeing the light of day. And oh yeah, thanks to Michael Cohen, we actually have a recording of him and Donald Trump talking about doing just that.
I need to open up a company for the transfer of all of that info regarding our friend David, so that I'm going to do that right away. I've actually come up and I've spoken to Alan Weisselberg about how to set the whole thing up with funding. Yes, and it's all the stuff because you never know where that company, you never know where he's going to be. Correct.
You might get hit by a truck. Quick reminder, as recently as April, the president feigned ignorance about women being paid off at all, well, at least one of them.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
No.
So where he got the money to make that payment?
I don't know. No.
Let's not forget, that was the story right up until Rudy Giuliani made a whoopsie on Hannity.
It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation. So
they funneled it through the law firm.
Funneled through the law firm, and the president repaid it.
Oh, I didn't know he did.
Yep.
Oh. Of course, Sarah Sanders, who, by the way, this week said she wants to be remembered for honesty and transparency, kept up the charade from the White House podium.
There was no knowledge of any payments from the president, and he's denied all of these allegations.
Specifically, can I ask, did the president approve of the payment that was made in October of 2016 by his longtime lawyer and advisor, Michael Cohen?
Look, the president has addressed these directly and made...
You know what? Let's forget that. Let's just not listen to that again, because we played that whole thing last night, and it's just misdirection. It's doublespeak. It's smock screen after smock screen. Either that, or she wasn't informed about the truth. And if that's the case, why would she continue standing there being the mouthpiece for someone who is lying to her, just like he's lying to the American people? It's clear as day at this point, sadly, that the president and his fixer in David Pecker work together to keep stories from the public. Now that Cohen is singing and Pecker is free to as well, with his own immunity deal and other employees of the National Enquirer being told to speak, there's no telling what else could come out. I mean, maybe there is nothing more that they know about, or maybe they have files of what Michael Cohen this week called dirty deeds. The president today continued to insist this is all part of a conspiracy to embarrass him.
What he did was all unrelated to me, except for the 2 campaign finance charges that are not criminal and shouldn't have been on there. They put that on to embarrass me. They put those 2 charges on to embarrass me. They're not criminal charges, number one. Now, that's according, Harris, that's according to the top
And I've interviewed people.
So what happened is either Cohen or the prosecutors, in order to embarrass me, said, listen, I'm making this deal for reduced time and everything else. Do me a favor, put these 2 charges on. They're not criminal charges.
I want to move.
I hate to repeat myself, but facts are facts. They're criminal charges. What Cohen did was, of course, related to the president. They talked about it together with David Pecker. And this notion that somehow prosecutors are just trying to embarrass the president, keep it honest, prosecutors didn't force the president to allegedly have extramarital affairs with a porn star and a Playboy model, then deny it, then pay to keep them quiet before the election, then lie about knowing about that, then call it a simple private transaction that wasn't wrong anyway. Are you following? The president did get one thing right. It is indeed embarrassing. And when it was all being cooked up, he was in the room where it happened.